Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
This is the last lecture on social stratification. Although we have discussed many aspects of social stratification, what it is, and whether stratification is unidimensional or univariate, or multidimensional or multivariate. We have discussed a few theories of social stratification also. But I thought that let me spend one more day, one more hour on social stratification and talk more in the context of India and try to relate theories that we have learned or a few more ideas to the nature of social stratification in India. Now friends, nobody can doubt that in India our society is highly stratified. Economists say that economically poor countries of the world are actually more rigidly stratified. They are more unequal with respect to distribution of wealth as compared to developed countries. So say as compared to United States, India is much poorer in terms of, say, average per capita income. India is much poorer than United States or European countries. But the story does not end there. Indian economy or distribution of wealth in India is much more unequal. The degree of inequality with respect to wealth in India is much higher than in economically advanced countries. Which means that while a small section of people in India are as better off and sometimes in some cases richer than the rich people of United States, but the average people of India and the poor of India are in very miserable condition. So it's a highly unequal system. Indian society is stratified on the basis of wealth. Although exact figures are difficult to give, but if I just guess, then with respect to wealth, I can say that there are capitalists or industrialists, major industrialists. There are below them big traders or businessmen. Below them landed aristocracy. Then the middle class, those in regular employment and others, and the poor. Poor can again be divided into several types of poor people, but broadly speaking, if I say that Indian society with respect to wealth can be divided into these categories: capitalists or industrialists will not be more than 2% of India's population. Traders, maybe 5%. These are ad hoc figures. It may not be 5, it may be 6, it may be 7, it may be 4.9, but roughly speaking. Landed aristocracy, again, it depends on how aristocracy is defined. But let us say that 10% population of India belongs to the category of landed aristocracy. I would not say that somebody who has only 2 acres of land is aristocrat. He is cultivator, owner cultivator, and his socio-economic condition is much better than the condition of a sharecropper. And the condition of sharecropper is much better than the condition of a regular worker. And the condition of regular worker is much better than the condition of those casual laborers who are on irregular employment and who spend months as unemployed people, for which a program like Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Program is launched. So there is a gradation, but still 10% people belong to landed aristocracy. Middle class, you may think that India has a very large middle class. But if I divide middle class into 2 categories, those who are in regular employment in the formal sector, include all types of employees, from director to peon, in formal sector. What is formal? Formal is registered with government. Government maintains records of formal sector, and they are within the reach of labor inspector, welfare inspector. These are so many inspectors and officers, sale tax, income tax, all the rules, all the laws of the land regarding business apply to them. Usually all those establishments which hire 10 workers or more must be registered, and they become part of the formal sector. If you add all the people who are in regular employment, who have the security of provident fund and pension in the formal sector, it's not much. You may be thinking that it may be 40%, 50% or something. My reading of the 5-year plan shows that the total percentage of this category is only 8. In India, only 8% people, including the regular employees in as low position as 4th class or your mess workers who are in regular employment. From civil servants, from defense officers to the 4th class government employees and employees in public sector, executives as well as lower levels, mechanics, supervisors, workers, combine everyone. And in India that figure does not reach beyond 8%. Then maybe other middle classes which are in non-formal sector, not registered, maybe working at shops, self-employed, their own business, small petty bourgeois, own business, shopkeepers, taxi drivers, everyone, include everyone. Maybe another 25%. If you add them, you get a figure of 50%. And the rest, 50% population of India is poor. There has been a lot of debate. These are rough calculations. These are my guesstimates. These are not based on any exact survey. There has been a debate on what proportion of population of India should be called poor, mainly for the implementation of rural development program. Some people say that poverty headcount ratio has declined to 14%. Some say it is 25%, some say it is 35%, 40%. Actually, it all depends on what definition of poverty you use. But if poverty means deprivation, if poverty means uncertainties in life, more uncertainties regarding employment, if poverty means low level of education, if poverty means inadequate housing, if poverty means malnutrition, and you take a multidimensional view of poverty, then in India, maybe more than 70% population consists of poor persons. India is a highly stratified society. Capitalist, industrialist, and quite often capitalist, industrialist, political elite, they are the same people. So our Home Minister, P. Chidambaram, he is a political elite. He is also an industrialist, capitalist. He also belongs to a higher caste of Tamil Nadu. So there is sometimes a close correlation between different determinants of stratification. This is the nature of social stratification in India. To some extent, one can say that the Marxist model of social stratification, two-class model of social stratification, is quite valid in India. There are some people, hardly 10%, 15% at the top, and all others are poor. Even they are poor. They do not have any regular employment, most of them. And their economic condition is more precarious. It depends on many circumstances how much they will earn. So most people are poor. And the middle class is very small. Karl Marx thought that in a capitalist society, there will be some people at the top, a small number at the bottom, a small number in the middle, and a large number of people at the bottom. Capitalist, middle class, and proletariat. As capitalist society advances, this portion, middle class, gets shrink. The developments in different countries in the world show that actually this is not happening, and middle class is expanding, and we have something like this. And we expect that in the future, our model of social stratification will be like this. This is expansion of the middle class. Let us hope that in India also, with education, with more opportunities, with industrialization, better economic performance, globalization, more movement of people across national boundaries, it will be possible to raise the proportion of the middle class. So today middle class is 8 plus 25, 33. It's possible to raise this from 33 to say 50%. When it becomes 50%, that will be the perhaps worst situation for the poor classes of India, those who will be poor at that time. Today, at least some of them, educated people belonging to middle class, because their status is uncertain. In some respects, they find themselves to be superior to the poor, especially with respect to education. And in many other respects, they identify with the poor class. So there is at least some restlessness, some dream of equality, some desire to change the social system, political system, so that it becomes better, more efficient, more equal. But the moment you have 50% middle class, then as Max Weber says, that revolution will not remain a possibility, and people will have other alternatives. It will be a more chaotic society. So when they are unhappy, they can burn government property, Like our Air India pilots, they can go on strike, casual leave, they can protest, grumble, make organizations, but there is no possibility of revolution. Because of this highly complex nature of social stratification. Pilots of Air India are frustrated, but they are not the kind of class which can provide leadership in revolution for the benefit of the lower classes of Indian society. They cannot become the political leaders of Communist parties of India. They are all status quo. We are all upper middle class people, educated people. Most of us are highly status quo people, and we work for ourselves. So there is stratification on the basis of wealth. You can call it class also, class or wealth. Class is economic, and on the basis of wealth or class, there is stratification. Caste is another factor of stratification. Again, we do not have the exact figures, but perhaps on the basis of caste, Jains are at the top. Jain is not a caste, Jain is a religion, but for all practical purposes, in Indian society, we can say that Jains are a caste, an endogamous group. Traditionally, Jains and Hindu traders formed one endogamous group, and marriages between Jains and Agarwal, Jains and Guptas were very common. Even now, they are quite common. But Jains are becoming more of an endogamous group. The preference at the time of marriage will be given to a Jain. So Jains are at the top. Among all the communities of India, Jains are at the top, and then Sikhs. Sikhs are more stratified. In Sikhs, you have Khatris or traders, government officers, and also at the bottom, Mazhabi Sikhs, or those who converted to Sikhism from the lowest of the low castes. So accordingly, within Sikhism, there is a lot of stratification. Sikhs are a highly stratified, perhaps the most stratified community of India, because on the one hand, they are the second wealthiest community of India, and on the other hand, they are highly stratified. All kinds of people have joined Sikhism. Our traditional system, on the basis of caste, Brahmins think that they are superior to others. In terms of class, they may be nowhere. Several surveys have shown at the time of Pandal Commission that in some South Indian states like Karnataka, the per capita income of Brahmins was lower than the per capita income of Dalits. So economic condition of Brahmins is precarious at several places. It's a different thing that some Brahmin families can be found here or here or here, but not community as a whole. Community as a whole is in a bad condition. In Kerala, now you do not find Nambudris anywhere. At one time, Nambudris constituted the highest echelon of Indian society, but today Nambudris are neither in education, nor in government, nor in business. They are nowhere. In economic condition, though there are pockets of dominance, like you go to Bihar, the most stratified society of India, where land reforms have not yet taken place. West Bengal, Kerala are relatively more egalitarian because of land reforms undertaken by communist governments. Bihar is the least reformed state despite the leadership of several middle caste and low caste, and many of their leaders being the most vocal persons in movement for poverty removal or improvement of condition of socio-economically and ritually lower caste. So there are pockets where Bhumihar Brahmins are at the top and the land belongs to them. There are pockets where Kurmis are the dominant caste. There are pockets where Yadavas are the dominant caste. And there are some small pockets where Rajputs are the dominant caste. So it depends. But ritually speaking, Brahmins think that they are superior to others. Even when they have nothing, no education, no money, no pakka house, no employment, nothing. Even then, for several generations, they will continue to think that they are a superior caste. At least they have more prestige. The worst condition of Brahmins in Indian regions was in Punjab and Haryana. Due to you can call it due to Islamization or due to economic reasons. Brahmins were the most marginal community in Punjab and Haryana, that side. But even there, on religious occasions or for astrological consultations or for Hindu calendars or for other religious ritualistic reasons, people went to Brahmins. So despite the fact that in terms of political power and in terms of economic standing, they were nowhere, Brahmins had some kind of social prestige. So Brahmins, then Kshatriyas, then trading community or Vaishyas. And these three constitute the general category. Then OBC, all other middle caste, middle or rural or peasant caste, dominant caste of rural areas, they are OBC, and then SC and ST. In terms of caste or community, this is the picture. Jains and Sikhs may be around 4% of India's population. Brahmin, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, general category, 18% of India's population. SC around 16% of India's population. ST is around 8% of India's population. And OBCs therefore constitute around 54% of India's population. This is on the basis of caste. And caste and this thing, they are not completely dependent. As I said, that it's not that Jains, you rarely find a poor Jain. In the Jain community, you will rarely find a poor Jain. In the Sikhs, you can find rich as well as poor. Middle Sikhs, you can find army officers, navy officers. You can also find civil servants, IAS officers, PCS officers. You find professors, engineers, and you also find middle class traders and slightly lower mechanics, drivers. Transportation is virtually captured by Sikhs in India. And you also have very low caste and low class Sikhs. Brahmins, highly diversified, some very rich, mostly lower, and some very low. Kshatriyas depends. Kshatriya, according to Indian sociological theories, actually, Kshatriyas, it's a debatable category, and there is very close interaction between Kshatriyas and Shudras. There are theories, if you read Ambedkar, if you read M.N. Srinivas, K.M. Panikkar, Indian sociologists, you find that it's very difficult for us to say what is really a Kshatriya. According to one story, Nand dynasty was the last Kshatriya dynasty in India. And after that, all Kshatriyas were eliminated. And all those who identify themselves with Kshatriya category in any part of the country are all those who have risen up from the caste of Shudras. Anybody who has power is Kshatriya. This was the rule. If you, I read some Hindi novels pertaining to social organization of Rajasthan, in which it was clearly depicted that in the lower classes, to become Kshatriya was the dream of life. As in the educated community of India today, to become an IAS officer is the dream, a civil servant. Among you, to become a civil servant is the dream. Similarly, at one time, in the Chaturvarnya system of India, to become a Kshatriya, to capture power, to become a ruler, was the dream. And in some cases, among some people, some communities, dream succeeded, dream was realized. Among others, it was not realized. His dream was realized, they became Kshatriyas, and they found support from certain Brahmin categories, Brahmin castes, who mythologized their origin or their... these Brahmins started writing songs, mythologies, books, and created such genealogies which showed that the Kshatriya rulers are the descendants of the real Kshatriyas. They even joined them to some character of Mahabharata and Ramayana. Suryavanshi, Yaduvanshi, Chandravanshi, this Vanshi, that Vanshi. And that Krishna's son was this, his son's son was this, his son was this, and our Raja, our ruler of our region today belongs to that lineage of Lord Krishna. So those Brahmins who did this, those Brahmins became the top Brahmins of their region, and the kings donated. It's obvious, we can imagine that these kings will give a lot of land and ornaments and cows to such Brahmins. And those Brahmins who are not chamcha type and who would not oblige Kshatriyas by creating such mythologies, they can be ostracized from their kingdom and they become Shudra or they go somewhere or become tribals. So this has been the nature of Sanskritization in India. Capturing power, changing your rituals, ideas, language, belief systems, practices, and claiming a superior status on the caste hierarchy. This has been going on in India for thousands of years and at least till the time of independence. After that, because of the fact that a list was made of certain castes, they are called scheduled castes. Many of them are untouchables. But scheduled caste means that there is a list. President of India prepared a list of certain castes. Schedule, they are in the schedule. List means schedule. So all those castes which are on the schedule of scheduled castes are scheduled castes. Some of them are very low, some of them are not so low. And they constitute about 16% of India's, at the time of independence, they were 15%, and therefore 15% of jobs and seats in educational institutions were reserved for them. Scheduled tribes are the poor, most pathetic condition of people, any community who is at the lowest level of economic development, social development, prestige. Scheduled tribes are the worst. Even scheduled tribe is a highly stratified society. Condition of all the scheduled tribes in India, there are hundreds of scheduled tribes, and condition of scheduled tribe, all the scheduled tribes is not same. You know, I was reading somewhere and I did some field work in Rajasthan and I talked to people. There are many tribes in Rajasthan and Meena is the most dominant of all the tribes. So I was asking in Rajasthan, what is this Meena? What is their traditional, ritual, historical status? And on the basis of my reading of some research papers published in Indian journals and my field work, I came to know an interesting fact. And that is that when the list of, like scheduled caste, when the list of tribes was under preparation, scheduled tribe, there was a tribe of Rajasthan, Bhil. Now, Bhil, many of them call themselves Meenas. A common title, like Singh is a common title. Kshatriyas write Singh, sometimes Brahmins also write Singh in Bihar, in Bengal, Brahmins also write Singh. Many castes write Singh, Meena. So in Rajasthan, there were Bhil Meenas. And Bhil Meenas were to be included in the scheduled tribe category, because Bhil Meenas in forests, isolated, remote, outside the village, and development, civilization had not reached them. Bhil Meenas were at the bottom of educational, ritual, economic hierarchy, and Bhil Meenas were to be included. Now there was some Meena who was not Bhil, and he was in the government department where this list was prepared. So what he did, he put a comma. So finally, when the list of scheduled tribes was prepared, then in place of Bhil Meena, all Bhils and all Meenas became part of scheduled tribe. In several districts of Rajasthan, Meenas are considered to be like Kshatriyas. They are, if somebody is not politically very touchy or sensitive, and you ask him who are Meenas, then they will say Meenas are Savarn. In their language, they will say, in Rajasthani, they will say that Meenas are Savarn. But this incidence, while preparing the list, made all the Meenas part of scheduled tribe. Now, as compared, the Meenas, actually they are like Kshatriyas, or certainly in OBC. Some Meenas will be in OBC type and some will be in Kshatriya type. So, you find today that all the benefits intended to go to scheduled tribes are going to Meenas, and you do not find in the lists published for scheduled tribe other tribes of India. You don't even know about other tribes. So in all government jobs, in seats in educational institutions, it's Meena, Meena, Meena. Scheduled tribe means Meena. Where are Tharus? Where are other scheduled tribes of Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh? Where are Bhilelas? Where are Bhils? Because the diversity, once you include Meenas in the category of scheduled tribe, then scheduled tribe becomes a so diverse category that it is impossible for the real scheduled tribes other than Meenas to get benefit out of it. Very complex picture. Indian social stratification is not so simple, but caste is there. Education, there is educational stratification, those who are educated. I also thought I will make a statement OBC. Now OBC, very complex and very confusing category. And as before independence, there was a move to Sanskritize your practices and beliefs and claim a superior status on caste hierarchy. Because of government policies today, there is a fight for claiming backwardness by tracing historical, economic, educational, or other indicators. Everybody wants to become backward. So, a few years ago, I realized how complicated India's social stratification is. I was working as QIP coordinator in IIT Kanpur only. And applications for admission in PhD program were coming from different states of India. At that time, I did not know that Muslims can be OBC. I thought that like scheduled caste, only Hindus can be OBC. And I found applications of Muslims from Kerala, and they claimed OBC, and they attached certificate of OBC. When I found the fact, then I found that all Muslims of Kerala are covered under OBC, all Muslims. Even the descendants of Tipu Sultan and all sultans. If you want to see some of the richest, most wealthy Muslims and most cultured and most educated and globally mobile, you have to go to Kerala. But all Muslims of Kerala, including these affluent, politically powerful people, highly educated for generations, descendants of rulers, all are part of OBC. Again, that problem will, how will that affect Indian social stratification? Once you include the most affluent, most educated, most cultured, most aware people of the country in the category of OBC, then what you are doing, you are preventing the chances of upliftment of caste Gadaria of Uttar Pradesh. A Gadaria of Uttar Pradesh at the national level cannot just compete with an affluent Muslim of Kerala. So there are problems, categories, subcategories. There was another shock to me when I found that almost all the people belonging to Vaishya community in Bihar are included in OBC. I could not, earlier I used to think that, like anyone, many of you may be under this impression that Brahmin, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas are outside OBC. But you go to Bihar and you find that most people today belonging to Vaishya category are in OBC. Maybe except a few Marwadi Baniyas, leave the Marwadi Baniyas, all other Baniyas are OBC. Very diverse category. So in the category of OBC, you have very rich Baniyas of Bihar, affluent and politically dominant families of Kerala, and also a poor Bahelia of Madhya Pradesh. Very diverse. Now you can imagine what kind of justice or injustice our system is having. So this. Education is another basis of stratification. Gender, some people will say, I also mentioned in the beginning, that social stratification is not done on the basis of gender. Anything which is within the family cannot be accepted as the basis of stratification in society. This is the standard sociological position. But the fact is that gender is a factor in creating differences of wealth, prestige and power. And the feminist writers, and I will agree with feminist writers, I will support them if they say the gender is a basis of social stratification in our society. Women have to suffer. Women suffer educationally, politically, and prestige of women is also lower. No wonder at the time of marriage, we still believe in hypergamy, and we expect that the status of groom in all respects, age, education, height, class, income, a wife is earning income, in all respects, husband must be superior to wife. I hate this kind of hypergamous system. And I tell women particularly that as long as it's like in traditional Hindu social organization continues, although it was highly unequal and exploitative, not because Brahmins believed in this, but also because Shudras too believed in this. And if you want to change the system, I am asking a question whether it is possible to create a society of equals or it is impossible. Then I would ask women that as long as you believe in hypergamy, how can system be ever equal? I see the possibility of equality only when at the time of marriage, it's not a consideration that husband should be superior. Once husband is superior in terms of caste, subcaste, class, wealth, education, income, height, age, then you will remain inferior lifelong. If you want to attack at the root of gender stratification, then you have to attack the concept of hypergamy. What is wrong if some women are IAS officers or professors or engineers and they have house husbands, or their husbands are working as lower division clerk or not working, or are working as officers but in an inferior position to their wives? If you are not ready to accept this, you can never have a system of equality. Kingsley Davis says that it's necessary to have social stratification, because you have roles R1, R2, R3, Rn, and you have individuals. And social stratification is a mechanism of role allocation. Roles differ in terms of dedication, difficulty with which they are performed, whether they are pleasant or not so pleasant, they are difficult to perform or they are pleasant to perform, how much training, talent, merit they require, what degree of devotion they require, loyalty, commitment. Individuals differ in terms of abilities, attitudes, and merit and training. Now, by social stratification, a mechanism of role allocation is created in which it is assured that functionally more important roles go to most meritorious people. And not only they go to most meritorious people, but these people perform these roles with as much dedication as possible. They are desirous, these meritorious people are desirous of performing these roles with conscience. This was Kingsley-Davis's theory. And for this purpose, society accords differential rewards to different roles. What can be these rewards? Sustenance or income or salary or perks or facilities or comforts. One. Second, prestige. Ego, expansion of ego, prestige. And third, humor and diversion, creativity, adventure, not being a routine kind of job. So that shows that whether on the basis of class or on the basis of caste or education or gender or some other basis, social stratification is going to stay. There is a counter point of view. And one functional sociologist, he is not a Marxist, a functional sociologist himself counters this view. And he makes a number of points. I hope that you will find some of these points quite interesting. Tumin says, let me repeat that Tumin is not a Marxist. Tumin is a functional sociologist. But still he says that Kingsley-Davis's theory is wrong in one respect, that he does not talk about dysfunctions of social stratification. According to M.M. Tumin, first of all, it's impossible to measure functional importance of a role. How do you say that R1 is functionally more important than R2? Actually, rewards are connected with power. In terms of wealth, in terms of money, in terms of salary, promotions, service conditions, age of retirement. If you compare your bureaucracy, civil servants and army, the conditions of civil servants in India are much better, much better in all respects. Age of entry, training, that the amount of training that an army officer has to undergo. Then promotion policies, they retire very early, army officers retire very early. And if you map salary structures of the two, now in all respects, leave, facilities for children, in all respects, your civil servants are much better than the army officers. Does it mean that functional importance of army officers in India is less than the functional importance of babus in Delhi or in state capitals or in the field? It simply shows that civil servants are more powerful and therefore, and they are the people who play an important role in formation of service conditions. So, because they themselves are part of making rules for services, they take the best rewards for themselves. M.M. Tumin will not agree that in any way role of army commander is inferior to role of joint secretary. Rewards are connected with power. Third, the talent search is restricted. Kingsley Davis says that social stratification is functional because due to social stratification, society is able to attract the most meritorious people, the talent, to perform functionally most important roles. M.M. Tumin says that because there is social stratification, so the talent search becomes restricted. You search for talent only in the limited circle of the upper classes or upper caste. It's the probability that a son of a cookie of Manipur will become a civil servant in India is much, much less than the probability that son of an Agarwal living in Delhi becomes a civil servant. Your talent search, no matter how best competitive exams you evolve, and whether you have one exam or several exams, JEE or no JEE, your talent search is restricted only to the upper classes of society. It's quite possible that a Manipuri cookie, biologically speaking, carries all those biological forces which, if he gets selected in IIT, he proves to be the best scientist of the world. He has potential to, on biological grounds. Biological includes brain. On biological grounds, he has the potential to become the most successful scientist of the world. But your present talent search is restricted only to upper classes, urban centers, metropolitan centers, affluent classes, educated classes, and due to social stratification, you are not able to identify talent in the backward regions, backward areas, backward castes, backward classes, and the lower, in general, the lower classes of society. Then some people say that you give more money to people because they spend a long time in training. Tumin questions this idea, questions the lifelong award or reward for training. Tumin will say, if you tell that because you are doing BTech in IIT Kanpur, so you deserve better rewards. Your friends who after 10+2 got into some job, they are already in job, they are not spending time in training, they are not passing through this 4 or 5 year period of hardships, sacrifices, you are making sacrifice during the process of training, and therefore you deserve better rewards. Tumin says that first of all, there is no sacrifice. As far as fees part is concerned, that sacrifice is made by the parents and not by the students. So the students have no justification to ask for more rewards than their contemporaries from 10+2 get. Second thing, what you call sacrifice, that you are sacrificing 4 or 5 precious years of your life in IIT Kanpur. Compare your life even in IIT Kanpur with the life your friends who after 10+2 are pulling rickshaw, selling vegetables, working as laborers in construction or in agriculture, or are self-employed in Noida or Bangalore or somewhere. Tumin is saying that even today, you are living a much better life. Your quality of life is much better than the quality of life that your friends are having who are not in IIT Kanpur. And third thing he will say that, okay, assume that you are struggling, you are sacrificing. So let us decide for how much time, for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, for how much time you should be compensated for your sacrifice. Are you sacrificing so much that you must be compensated lifelong? That lifelong a lower division, a bank clerk must continue to get 25, maximum 25, 30,000 rupees salary, and you must get 50 lakh per year, something like that, lifelong. Tumin says that there is no justification for this. Tumin also says that social stratification creates distrust in society. Distrust, disintegration, conflict, and in that sense, social stratification is dysfunctional. It's not functional. It's not good. It's bad. Social stratification is bad. I will leave this question whether it is possible to have a society of equals or not. You ponder on this issue. I will just stop by remembering and telling a small thing which was narrated to me by the editor of a local newspaper. I was interested in literature, and in my native town, when I was doing BSc, I was quite closely associated with some newspaper. I used to write articles for them. Sometimes I would write poems. And he told me that at the time of Chinese war, there was an editor, Babu Singh Chauhan of Bijnor Times. He told me this story, that at the time of Chinese invasion in 1962, along with others, he was also collecting money, ornaments, so that we could create resources for our army personnel. He goes to a village close to the town of Bijnor, and he meets a lower class villager there and says that China has attacked us, and they would portray China as a political gunda. In the international circle, China as a gunda, and we have to protect our motherland. We are collecting whatever you can give. You can give clothes, you can give money, you can give ornaments, you can give anything so that the army activities can be supported. And that poor man from the village asked him, why? How does it matter to me whether India is ruled by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru or by Mao Zedong? How does it matter? Mao Zedong rules India or Jawaharlal Nehru rules India, it doesn't matter to me. I don't have my land. I don't have any agricultural property. I do not even have a good house in my village. I do not have a regular employment. I do not have anything. When Babuji told me this story, I am not justifying that we should not be nationalists or in times protect the interest of our motherland. But the crux of the story is that those who are at the bottom, why should they take interest? Why should they be patriotic? How does it matter? If tomorrow Pakistan attacks India and Indian army is defeated and India is captured by Pakistan, whom will it affect? Maybe some clever capitalists of India will make compromises with Pakistan, because ultimately Pakistan will have to rule not by force but by legitimizing its position. So some clever type of capitalists will make compromises. Some big leaders will also make compromise. At that time in India, Pakistan would like to look secular. Jinnah was a very secular person, and Jinnah wanted to build a secular Pakistan. Maybe some people here, some landlords, some civil servants, it's possible that they will bring the chief secretaries of states and national capital, central government from Pakistan. So our own chief secretaries in Delhi or in state capitals will be affected. Maybe Pakistanis will appoint their own directors in IITs and IIMs. So Indian directors of IITs and IIMs will be affected. But how will it affect the mess workers? How will it affect the clerks? Pakistan cannot bring so many clerks from Lahore or Sindh as to replace all the clerks of all the banks of India. And this feeling in the lower middle or lower classes that we have no great stakes in this country leads to distrust, disintegration, and conflict. Those who are familiar with the rural situation, they must be knowing that even on the issue of festival, celebration of festival, because of social stratification, society is so much divided that people belonging to Thakur community are burning Holi at one place, and people belonging to Vaishya community are burning Holi at another place, and Dalits are having a separate Holi because of social stratification. If we did not have social stratification, our village life, our urban life, our national life would be much more integrated than it is in presence of social stratification. Tuman makes many other points, but what he wants to say that Kingsley Davis is wrong in saying that social stratification has a function. Maybe it has some functions, but its dysfunctions are not less important than its function. Some people like Talcott Parsons and Darren Dav, who completed the last chapter of class in Marx's Capital, will believe that it is impossible to have a society of equals. Only the nature of stratification changes, but an equal society is not possible because all societies are governed by certain values and norms. And values means that there must be a power structure to enforce values. As long as there is value consensus that something is good, there must be some power structure to ensure that those who conform to values are rewarded and those who deviate from values are punished or they are negatively sanctioned. And this ultimately creates a society of unequals. The idea, ultimately the sociologists reach the conclusion that although the dream of equality is very sweet, but the reality is that all societies remain stratified, and the idea of casteless, classless, colorless society is a myth. That will not happen. This does not mean that Marxists will stop talking of class struggle or revolution. It is up to you finally. I don't know how you will think. You think, and in the next tutorial class we will talk about these issues in a more open, more participatory manner, whether it is possible to have a society of equals or not. Thank you.